Okay, so let's go ahead and get started on the football version of the Styrofoam. So I'm going to go to a new model, and by default, I've got my new model set up to be what I used last time. So it should be a pretty good general settings for our project here. All right, so I'm going to start off drawing in a top view. So I'm going to click on top here. And I'm going to just basically start off by drawing the entire footprint of the object and then use a new tool called the offset tool to create the basic shape and then make that shape three-dimensional. So I'm going to start off with the line tool. So just start typing L for line, and it should come up on our bar here or on your command line if you've got a PC version. Hit enter. And then I'm going to start my line at 0. So just type Z and 0, enter. And I'm going to make this line 1 foot 8, enter. Click, enter again, brings up the same command. Or you can use the space bar as well. Works just like enter. Click, drag up 12 inches, enter, enter again. 12 inches, enter, click, enter again, brings up the same command, 1 apostrophe 8, enter, enter, brings up the same command, and then click to close. And of course, we're making sure that all of our snap points are on the same way I've got them shown here. And you're in the standard view, which gives you the standard toolbars. Okay, so I've got some basic lines here, and I actually don't like that it's right on the 0 there because sometimes it blends in with other lines and stuff. So I'm going to move this, enter, click, and move it up 1, enter, click, and then I'm going to do it again, move it this way, 1, enter, click. So you can see that my my grid marks are about an inch, so it could help you to kind of keep things organized. All right, so let's start offsetting to create the basic shape. So the offset tool works like this. You type OFF for offset, comes up, hit enter, and then I specify the curve to offset, and all of our basic lines are curves in Rhino. So I'm going to choose my offset distance now. You see that it says 4 inches here, and and it's actually drawing a line 4 inches in. That's where it will offset that line to, but we want to change that to 3.5. Enter, and you see that line changed its size. Click, and it creates a copy of this line 3.5 inches this way. Then I'm going to offset again, but this line this time, enter. And I'm going to go up 5.5, enter. Whoops, enter brings up, well, type OFF for offset, enter. Click on this line and do 5.5, enter, click. And now I'm going to trim this area out. And the easiest way to do that is to use the fillet tool, just regular fillet, not fillet edge. So fillet, enter, and then select a radius of 0, enter, and then click here and here. All right, and then continue to offset. So you can kind of see that it creates this little angled space, which is that one area on the top view of our football that has that kind of nub on it. Okay, so now let's continue. So I'm going to offset again. This one, I'm going to do this line, enter, and then OFF, enter. Click on this line, drag this way, and do 9, enter, click. Bring up the same command again, and I'm going to do 2 inches. So click here, 2 inches this way. You can see the order doesn't matter as much as you'd think. And then I'm going to draw a line, L for line, enter, from there to there. And then I can actually just delete this, click, delete this, and then F for fillet, enter, with a radius of 0 still, that. So that gives you that diagonal line. Alright, let's do the top one up here, offset, enter, this line, enter. I always forget because in AutoCAD O is for offset, but for some reason with Rhino you have to type OFF for offset, enter. So that's why I keep flubbing this command. Bring it this way with a distance of 2.25, enter, click. And then enter brings up the same command again. Click on the line you'd like to offset and then change the dimension to 0.75. Come this way. Okay, and then I'm just going to do a few of them. Even though visually it's going to be a little confusing, I'll come back and clean it up afterwards. So offset this one, 9.5, enter, click. And then offset this one, 1.5, enter, click. And then I'm going to draw a line from this corner to there. And then I'll bring up the fillet tool again. Fillet this to this. Fillet this to this. And erase this. And erase this. Now let's go ahead and continue our OFF, enter, click, and go down this way, 2.5, enter, click, and then this way, 2.25, enter, click, and then from here down 1 inch, and let's trim it out again with the fillet tool, F for fillet, this to this. Actually, I don't need this line at all. And then offset OFF, enter, this line, this direction, 1 inch, and then this line again, this direction, 1.25, enter. And then from our bottom line here, I'm going to come up 2.5, enter. And now I'm actually going to draw a line from this point to that point. And then I'm going to erase this, because these are just lines to show where things start and end. And erase this. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and offset this direction to 0.25, enter, click, and then offset this direction 7 inches, click, and then draw a line from this corner to there, and then I can delete this. I don't need to delete that yet. I can fillet from here to there, from here to there. So that's filleting. And then I can go ahead and erase this line too. And you can kind of start to see the shape we're making and how it matches up with your desired object. Okay. So now I'm going to start offsetting the thinner lines. This line, for example, 0.5, enter, click. Enter brings up the same command. Click, click, enter all along. Like that. And then fillet this to this. And then this one, I'm going to do OFF, enter, this line, this direction, 7 inches, click. And then fillet from here to here, and from here to here. and then OFF this line this way, 0.5, enter, click, and then fillet this to this. Perfect. And then I'm going to offset this top one, this direction, to 0.5, enter, click. And so that's just going to be kind of, I'm going to put these little diagonal lines in here just for the time being. Fillet this to this. Okay. Then offset this line this way, 7 inches. And then fillet this to this. And then offset this line this way, 0.5, click, and fillet this to this. And then again, this to this. And we're making quite a bit of progress. So now what we've got here is our basic shape without these radiuses in here. So let's do those radiuses next. So I'm going to draw a circle, just C for circle, IR, comes up, hit enter, click a center point to start dragging it out, and we want to make sure that it says radius here. You might have to toggle this to change it to radius, change it to 1.25, and hit enter, because we're going to do a circle with the radius of 1.25. And then this part, I'm actually going to kind of just eyeball it, which isn't perfectly technically precise, but you know, the modes of measuring this and drawing it properly would take too long, so we'll don't tell anyone, but we'll just we'll wing it here. So I'm going to move this, and then you hover over kind of this point here, and you'll see that center written there. You don't have to go back to the center, you just kind of wait for it to say center, and then click on it, and it'll center align it there. And ortho is off here, so I can move it free. And I just want to kind of make those points line up like that. And then I'm going to copy it from the center back over to here. Once again, get those points. And you see what I'm talking about. This point here and this point here, the size of that arc takes up the whole thing to there. And this one, I'm just going to kind of place right about there. Hit enter. Okay. And so now we're going to fillet those out. F for fillet, enter, and this time we're changing the radius to 1/4 of an inch. 1/4, enter. Enter. Okay, sorry. 1/4, don't hit enter. And then just click this to this. Oh, hit enter, bring up the same command. Click this to this. Enter brings up the same command. Enter again, or spacebar again. All right, so that gives us those shapes. Now I don't need these lines anymore, so I can click on all of them. Shift click to add to the selection, hit delete. And now I want to trim these sections out. Now I'm going to use the trim command here. So I type TR for trim. It starts to come up. I hit enter. And then I specify the object I want to cut off to. So I'm going to actually click on these radiuses. And I can select all of them at once here. And then hit enter. And now click on the larger section of the circle. And they go away. And then hit enter. Now I could do more radiusing on this, but right now I don't want to do that because I like to leave these edges sharp. It makes it easier for moving things around. And all of my geometry looks pretty clean on this. So I'm going to go ahead and actually just copy the whole thing over. Just to have a second copy, it's always a good idea. to do that. And this time I'm going to turn my ortho on. You can either hit ortho up here or hit F8 or function F8, depending on how your hotkeys are set up. Turns ortho on and off. F3 or function F3 turns brings up object properties, that kind of thing. So hit enter, grab the whole thing, copy, enter, click. And whenever I'm moving things, I don't click on the actual object because I've got all of my object snaps on, and sometimes it makes things move squirrely. So I'll click a base point below it to move it. So I'm going to go 48, enter, click. And the reason why I do it by a number I can move, I keep it at 48 inches, is I can move it right back 48 inches if I'm missing any geometry. So I'm always aware of my measurements. All right, so next thing we got to do, we're going to do this arc over here, and then make it three-dimensional. So I'm going to do the offset again. This line, this way, 1.5, enter, click. And then I'm going to do one this way on the top, this direction, 1 inch, enter, click. And now I'm going to actually set points there. So this over here, I click on that, or I can type point. I'm going to set a point here. Enter brings up the same command again, and then click here. So that puts points right there. And then I can delete this and delete this. And then I want one more point in the middle. So I'm going to draw a line, actually, because I want to find my midpoint right there. And I'm going to come out this way. 2.25, enter, click. Now I'm going to put a point on this end right there. Okay, so I've got those 3 points. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a curve. So I'm going to use this right here, curve through points. And you can type curve through points, but I'm going to just find it on my toolbar here, curve through points, select that. And then it says select the points. So I select this, and select this. Hit enter. And there we go. So I've got that curve set up the way we want to have it to create our half-inch flat piece that's on the bottom running along the side of this object. So now I'm going to actually just hit enter one more time, select this, delete it, select this, delete it, select this, delete it. And the way I'm selecting again is if I click and drag from the left to right, it only selects the object that it completely encloses. If I go from right to left, it selects everything. Delete. Alright, so now I'm going to draw a line from this point, and I've got my nearest turned on, so actually no I don't. Let me turn my nearest on, nearest snap on here, and then I can snap on that line, turn my ortho off up here, or I can just hit F8. And I'm just drawing this kind of shape inside of this line here. Let me just cut that off to here. Fillet. That's fine. I'll use that 1/4 inch radius. It's not a big deal. Fillet this to this. And filleting also makes sure that the lines are lined up together. Alright, so now I'm going to join these together so they're all one piece. So J for join. This line to this to this. Okay. Well, sometimes it's easier to select the whole thing first, so let me just select it. And then this is also the tool for join, so you can go join there, or J, enter, makes it all one piece. Okay, so now I've got all of that set up. Let me trim out these sections here. So I'm going to hit TR for trim, enter, click this, and this, this, and this, enter, and then cut there and cut there. And see, those are my trim lines. So that's what I'm trimming off too, in there. Enter again. Let me make sure, because there was some funky line work going on there. If I delete that, okay, Command Z. All right. Because you want to make sure you can't have any lines on top of one another either. That's kind of a rule. So join all that together. Join all this together. I'm going to I'm going to hide this so when I join it, I don't accidentally try to join some lines that are crossing over each other here. So I'm going to right click or center click here, or you can click up here if you don't have a mouse and you go to invert selection and hide objects or hide objects. So here I'm going to hide this object. So I'm hiding that. Okay. And I want to fillet this edge too. F, enter, R, enter, 0, enter, click, click. Now J for join. Select the whole thing first, J for join. That's the easier way to do it. So this is all one piece, this is all one piece, this is all one piece. And then I want to bring back my hidden object. So show object brings back that object. The hide and show option is also if you click the center mouse wheel, you get visibility. You also get your join, select, all of the different object properties and stuff there. So it's a good idea with Rhino to have a mouse. Okay, so now let's go ahead and make this object 3D. So I'm going to go into perspective here, right click, and go to shaded. And I'm actually going to create layers now. So I'm going to type LAYER, enter, and change the name of default to lines, enter, change this one to solid, enter. And now I'm going to click on this to make it my current one. And that way I can turn on and off these lines. I can later on just delete that layer. It keeps everything nice and clean. Also the color change will be nice when we're trying to differentiate if there's line geometry there that shouldn't be. Okay, so now I'm going to extrude that curve. So extrude curve, enter, upward, and I'm going up, let's see, 3.5. Okay. Works. Then I want to extrude this one, this curve, and see this menu comes up letting me select different parts of the object that I clicked on. So I want to select this curve and this curve. Shift, click, curve. Shift, click. Okay. And then I can hit enter, brings up the same command as last time. And I'm just going to stretch it up a bunch. And then I'm going to use Boolean difference. Click on the object I'd like to keep, enter, click on the objects I'd like to remove and delete from, enter. So that creates that negative space inside there. And then, oops, I selected the wrong one, didn't I? Okay, let's do that again one more time. This one and this one. EXT, enter. Up, Boolean difference. Click on the object you'd like to keep, enter, remove, remove, enter. Okay, now click on that. I'm going to do left to right click. No, I'll just click on this one and shift click on that one. Select the curve. EXT, enter, and then I'm going to do 0.5, enter. And then always rotate around and make sure that it is flat on the bottom. Okay. So that looks good so far. We've got that shape working for us. And now I'm actually going to just go in and delete these curves, delete this curve over here. Just don't want to have too much 2D line drawing going on that are going to distract from the rest of the drawing. So I'm going to delete actually pretty much all the curves, just keeping the solids around. Okay, now we're going to use Boolean union, and instead of typing, you can also bring this up here, clicking on that down arrow next to it and holding it down, Boolean union, click on this, enter. It's all one piece if I click on it, but we've got some funky geometry down here because there was overlapping sections, so in order to clean that up, we'll go to Solid, we'll go to Solid Edit Tools, Faces, merge all faces, click on the object, enter, and see it cleaned it all up. So any faces that what they call coplanar are on top of one another that break up the object in a weird way are dismantled. Okay, so now we've got a little cutout over here, a little wavy cutout over here. Let's do that. So I'm going to go to a right view, click on right view, right click here, go to shaded, and then back to perspective. If I do that, or go to right view here, I can actually change this right view to a perspective view. Now sometimes changing this makes things a little confusing, so it's a good idea to change it back. So I'm going to go to perspective here, and you'll see my grid is oriented vertical here. So when I draw a rectangle, it aligns with the grid. So I'm going to draw on this edge here the cutout shape. So I'm going to go ahead and do a line tool down, and sometimes I go past it just to make it work. 1. Enter. Oh, it's not 1, sorry. Enter line tool. And make sure you grab that corner too. You could accidentally go to the wrong spot. I'm going to go 0.5. Okay, and then I'm going to do another one this way on this bottom here, 4 inches. Click. Okay, so now I'm going to draw a rectangle from end to end. You're noticing what's coming up on the snaps so that I know I'm snapping to the right spot. Enter, or click, I'm sorry. And now I'm going to select this curve and extrude curve this way. And I've got to go in, what is it, 3 inches, 3, enter. Okay, and since it went that way, means I could have either put a negative, let me just do that again, Command Z, extrude this way, -3, enter. Okay, now, again, Boolean difference, keeping this, getting rid of this. Okay, and I can delete the rectangle, delete this line, and we've got that little shape on there. All right. So now I want to change this back to a right view. So go set view to a right view. That way my right view here is correct. So if I go to my top, all my different viewports here, I can kind of see what's going on. All right, so now I want to go to a left view. So I'm going to actually change my right view to a left view. Okay, and I'm going to leave it like this too, so you can kind of see. Some people like working this way better. I like having a big picture, but if you want to work this way, it's fine too. So I'm going to type a rectangle, and I'm going to do a corner here to a corner here. The nice thing about it is you can see what's going on 3D when you're working in 2D. So I'm going to click on this curve, right click, And I'm going, or not right click, go to my visibility here and go to invert selection and hide objects. So that means everything that isn't selected will disappear. So now I'm just working with this rectangle here. Okay, so now I want to draw my little curvy line. So I'm going to explode this, click there. So that makes this all individual pieces so I can offset. So now I'm going to use the offset tool, OFF, enter, click on this side. I'm going to go in 1 inch, click, enter, and then I'm going to go from this side again, this way, 3.25, enter, click. Do it one more time, this way, this direction, 7, enter, click, and then one last time, this way, 10, enter, click, and then go from the bottom, enter, up, 1 inch, click, and do it 0.5, click, and then 1.25, enter, click. All right, it's pretty confusing. Let's put some points down just so we can kind of see what we're dealing with. So the 1 inch settings here, so put a point there, and then this is here, 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 and here. So that's kind of your point setup. Then after you get those, delete all these lines just because they're super confusing. And then we're going to use that tool again, curve through points, and I'm going to click on this point, and hit enter. And that kind of gives us the right curve, but it looks like this area here, this should be the top of that, according to my measurement. So now I'm going to click on this, or hit enter to finish our execution, and then click on that line, and if I right click, I can turn my control points on, which means that I can just kind of free move things around. So I want to kind of move this way, that way, just to get it going through the way I want. Then right click again and turn my points off. All right, and then turn this off, or delete all these extra points here and trim it out. So TR enter, click on this, enter, and then trim this and that, enter, click on these, delete them, and join, J enter, or select the whole thing, J enter. Okay, now I'll come up here and extrude this inward 1.5, enter. All right, and then now I'll click up here, go show objects, and subtract that out by using Boolean difference. So I can click over here, Boolean difference, click on what you want to keep, enter, click on what you'd like to remove, enter. And then now I can click on this and delete it. So that gives us our little wavy curve in the back. And yeah, there is a little funkiness going on there, but to clean that up would involve too much work. So we'll just leave it. Okay. So the last thing we've got to do is the football shape, and that's actually kind of a complicated thing to do. So let's go ahead and get started on that, and we'll get this complete. Okay, before we do the football shape, let's actually make sure, set this view back to a right view, because it is set at a left view. See how it can be confusing, because it says right there. I changed the right view to a left view, which is, you know, super annoying because the labels are weird. But now it's a right view again. So if I go back to it later on and want to look at a right view, it'll show me my right view. Okay, so now the football shape, I'm going to go back up to my top view here. Double click here. And I'll probably just draw it up here so that it makes a little bit more sense. I want to look at it from the bottom though. So again, I'm going to flip this, even though it says the top right now. I'm going to go right click and go to set view, bottom. We have to remember to put this back later, but for now, bottom view. Looks like that. Okay. So now we're going to work on this one, and I'll move it over 48 inches when I'm done. So I'm going to offset this line, OFF, this line, this direction, 6 inches. And then I'm going to offset this line, this direction, 4 inches. And then I'm going to offset this line, this direction, 3 inches. And then I'm going to offset, escape, this line, this direction, 5 inches. And then I'm going to draw a line from this corner here to this corner here. Then I can erase all the rest of these lines. Okay, so now I'm going to draw a line from the midpoint, mid, and see how it comes up tracking on perp. That's because I've got my smart tracking on there. Make sure you got your smart tracking on. On perpendicular, I'm going to come up this way, 2.75, enter. Okay, now I'm going to put my points here. Enter brings up the same command, and there. And then again, curve through points, click on this, 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 enter. All right, now I'm going to switch back to a top view. So right click, set view, top view. Okay. So now I'm going to go ahead and erase this one, this one, this one, this little point, and this little point. We're just going to keep that curve there. And I'm going to use a new tool. Let me put it in perspective here. Actually, I'll put it like this. I'm going to use the revolve tool. So click on this, type REV for revolve, click here to there, and then it wants to know which way I want to revolve. And if you look at the examples I've got there, it looks right. And then I want to revolve it, change this to 180, enter. 180. Okay, looks good. So now, go into perspective view here. I'd like to offset this surface to make it thicker. So the way I'm going to do that is type OFF, offset, and go to offset surface, click here. And we want it to go outward. So all of those arrows should be pointing this direction. If not, you can flip all, and it goes that way. Okay, and then specify the distance of 0.5. 0.5, enter. All right, and that kind of gives us our shape that we want. Yeah, these areas are funky right here, but it should cover up when we do when we move it into the 3D form. It should just cover up. So I'm going to go ahead and move this direction, turn ortho on so it doesn't go all willy-nilly. Yeah, that's term that's been long extinct, but I'm bringing it back willy-nilly. 48 inches. Enter, click. All right, it looks good from the top. Unfortunately, it does not look so good from the bottom. So we click on this object. If you click on it, you'll notice that when I orbit around, it tends to orbit a little bit more constrained, which is good. So looking at the bottom of the object, we can see there we go. You can see that there's this area inside here that we have to get rid of. So I want to actually copy this whole thing. COP for copy, enter. This direction, 48 inches, just in case I mess something up. So the idea here is to trim out this whole section in here. So let's try doing this. First, let's try this Boolean difference. See what happens. So if I select the object I'd like to subtract from, I will subtract this, enter, subtract the object you would like to subtract, click that, enter. Did not work. Okay. Let's see. Let's try this. Boolean, or let's try just trimming. Trim, enter, and specify my cutting blade, if you will. I'm going to click on this object, enter, and then click on those areas there. Okay. And then now I want to reverse that. So I hit enter again, click on the object I'd like to use as a cutting blade. I'm going to use this. Whoops, enter, click on this, and then this time I'm going to trim this and this and this, 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 right there, and hit enter. So that should be all of the spaces. Let's see if we did it right. So, okay, now what I want to do is explode this section and delete poly surfaces that are overlapping on top of the section that I've already had things drawn there. So now let's try this. J for join, this to that. All one piece. Okay. Looks good so far. Now let's see if I move this part back this way, 48 inches. Okay, so now that whole section inside there is completely gone, which is good. Let's see if I can Boolean union them together. This to this. Cross your fingers. Boom. It worked. All right. So now what we want to do is we want to clean up the geometry on this. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to actually go to my solid here, solid editing tools. I'm going to try merging all faces. Sometimes if this is too complicated, it messes things up. Let's try it. Okay, it worked on that. Hit this. I'm going to explode this whole thing. Click on this. See, my problem is these faces here are all unnecessary. Okay, so easily rectified. I just exploded it. I deleted the overlapping. Let's see what I just did again. So see those floating pieces in there and how they're all separate? We don't like it like that. We want it to be all together. So if I click on this and delete it, you see this section here, delete that. Delete that. Delete that. See, the way Rhino works is you've got to have all of these surfaces closed in order for it to think it's a solid. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to come back over here, REV for revolve, enter, click here to here, and do 180 again. Oops, did it wrong. Click here to there, this way, 180. All right, and that should be our form. If I move this back this way, 48, enter, click. All right, now we're in business. So what I do next is I join this together, and joining all of these objects together will make it a solid. So J, enter. Now it's all one piece. Okay. So now I'm going to right click and go to a set view top view. And right click again, set view perspective. Okay, now I can just delete all this extra stuff I don't need. So that is our styrofoam football in our styrofoam. All right, so fillet. This time we're going to fillet edge. And I want to do a radius of 0.5. And then click on the edges we'd like to radius. This one here, here. Oops. All right, I'm going to do them individually. Click there. Enter. Click here. Okay, I think that's all of them. All right, so there we go. Now that's the finished styrofoam. Let's bring it in and do some layouts. So I'm going to save this, of course. You want to make sure and save frequently. And call it P5, your last name, first initial, and save. Oh, we're forgetting one little part. Can't forget this part. Okay. So I'm going to draw a line from this corner point here, this direction. I'm going to go 3.25, enter, click, enter again, click here, and I'm going to go this direction, 0.5, enter, and then this, I'm going to actually draw a rectangle here to here, and extrude that rectangle up. Actually, let me just delete it. Click on the rectangle, and then either center mouse click, visibility, invert selection, and hide objects, or you can do it the other way. And then now I'm going to do our little angle thing there. Okay, so this goes up 1.5. We'll go this way, or sorry, let's go to a front view. Draw a line this way, 1.5. Enter, and then click, and then go from here to there, and then back to perspective, and then let me draw a line here from this corner here just to this corner here, and then extrude, curve, enter, and I can click on this point just to get it lined up. Okay, now I want to left to right delete each one of these lines. And bring back our objects, show object. Okay. And if I Boolean union this to this, should clean it right up. And then go to solid. Solid edit tools, faces, merge all faces. Cleans that right up. Got that point. And then the one other thing we're missing here is that little circular piece there. So let's do a circle. CIR for circle. From this point here, with a diameter of, what is the size on that circle? I'll just call it 1. Oops, that was a radius. C, enter. CIR for circle. Up there. Change it to diameter. 1, enter. And then we'll extrude curve down. 1.5, enter. Whoops, that went up. Delete that. XT, enter. Down, negative 1.5, enter. And then Boolean union, this to this, enter. And once again, solid edit tool, faces, merge all faces. Click here, delete the curve. Oh, nope. Click here, curve, delete. Okay, that gives us our whole shape.